Welcome, 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 everyone. I ask everyone to please stay muted until you are unmuted. We are going to begin today with a special teaching. Everyone, sit back, relax. This is our next live show. I want everyone to understand the nature of today's frequency. Energy is on the move. Energy is here, there, and everywhere. We are simultaneous existing beings when we choose to be here, there, everywhere, but here at the same time. I want each of you just to relax a minute. To live in this generation of the now, one must take the time to observe their surroundings, seen and unseen. The path to being a seen being has valleys and gorges and mountains that seem impassable at the moment. Then when we look back with hindsight, they were just expressions of our old self-defeating inner programs to not succeed on the path to the unlimited point of view. Each person will come to their path in a different way. Each being has their own unique blueprint into becoming a maintained being of the self on their path, defined by their own companionship with their internal programs, their eternal selves. Your path, you must be willing to look at families and friends and surroundings and chart a course of balance, seen and unseen. Everyone's path is fraught with expressions of former selves who hold illusionary power to be here in the now, so you're not. Learning our interconnectedness is resolving spiritual contracts. Each and every one of you is a signature frequency teacher of the moment of the now. You and only you can be you in this moment of now. Each and every one of you are a colloquial now teacher. Process that word, the colloquial now, the common language of today. Whether you're 4 or 74, we're all still speaking the common language of today. There might be some anachronisms out there that hold back to another generation's theme and style, but it is still of the colloquial now. You are a signature frequency match to be a seeker of knowledge, to discover your sovereign selves, to discover your birthrights and your soul stream and universal free will. We are each here to assist any seeker to discover knowledge, to de-weaponize information so information can be viewed without its innate broadcast, charge, and polarity based in the density it came from and how you observed it based off of your charge and polarity. This is why social activism online is so detrimental to so many people, for there is no brain to keyboard process to slow down what they type, for there is no result in their reality when they type something they never should and leave that taint in another's reality. We are each sacred neutral observers of the self when we choose. And you are conscious beings of choice. Never forget that. That is where the mechanics of free will begin. You, conscious being of choice. Each and every one have chose to consciously tune into the show. We are each here to teach the nuances of what real equal co-creation is. So many people come to this awakening movement trying to form communities and new families and meet soul families. The lesson so many of these groups miss is basic equal co-creation. What does that really mean? When one talent person is here and one talent is here and they come together with a common plan and they're not competing with each other, because the common plan is to educate people out of mediocrity. We are each signature frequency match for non-competitional order, teaching the semantics of it through 26-letter encoded English alphabet, or whatever language that you use. We are each beings of non-duality and non-separation, for we are equal to our equal co-creation. For our divine right is to be non-hierarchical order, to be the self transversing the multiverse in a non-competitional stream of dreams. To get to this journey of the I am's various parts, we must know thyself, discern thyself, accept thyself, recount your victories, tell your story, and be willing to do basic alchemy for yourself. Basic alchemy.
Hey, is this a cult?
Basic alchemy is determined by your willingness
Oh. Oh, shit. I can't.
Since the dawn of esoterics have been teaching the same thing, just in a different language, interpreted and reinterpreted generation after generation after generation. Allowing yourself to be present and train with it means you lose the name it to claim it system. When we have the capacity to suspend our belief in other things, we can engage our placebo belief engines about ourselves. For once suspension is disbelief, has no expectation or instant gratification to it, you become the signature frequency match for the masterful actions of the law of attraction and repulsion and focus. For within the suspension of belief is the sub-teachings of how to truly engage your own power of belief in yourself in the moment. The living generations of the now are not here to create distortions. We're here to eliminate distortions in a new way, to understand peace in a new way. Each and every one of you has a definition of what peace means. So for those of you that are chat room warriors, I want you to write in there, what is your definition of peace? Okay, and for those of you who are really fast chat room warriors, what is a peacemaker? And don't give me some airy fairy love and light peace thing. Okay, put your two fingers up. That's mediocre. There we go. What is the placebo belief engine?
Cult.
Allow yourself a moment. All right, Robert, let's bring in our first caller.
Okay, our first caller will be Angel.
Okay, and you make sure everyone else stays muted. We got a lot of people turning your mics back on and off. So if you're not on the call, everyone turn off your mic, please. Angel, are you there?
Hey, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, where are you calling from today?
Hi, I'm calling from Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, Florida. Welcome to the show. How did you find out about me?
Actually through a friend, and then I just kept watching all the online shows, and I've learned so much from your material. Thank you so much.
So what did you want to talk about tonight?
I have a couple of questions. One of them is regarding my life's path, because I have so many like things in my head right now that I could be doing, and I've tried being a healer. But it's something keeps guiding me away from that. Like I'm not ready. Like I have work to do on myself. And there's also another thing is just I feel like my guidance may have been hijacked. there's like I see these things. Uh, Sometimes like I'll hear people's thoughts from like all across the world, and sometimes it's true, like verifiably. Other times it may not be true. So it's just really confusing for me, like what's really going on, like how crazy am I, and like how psychic am I?
Okay. How old are you? What year were you born?
I was born in 1990. I'm December 4th, 1990, so I'm 28 years old.
Did you have a twin with you?
No, not that I know. I have a brother, and a sister. Both my brothers from a different father, and
Ah, both your brothers are from a different father. All right, that makes sense. You also have an aspect of yourself when you were in the womb. There was another separation of the egg and the sperm, but you absorbed the egg and the sperm right around the second month. And this is one of the reasons life is so confusing. You actually have two individual fetus in the womb blueprints. So, what kind of healing have you done? What kind of classes have you taken?
I've done Reiki, and I also try to listen to my intuition. Like sometimes, like for example, one time I was doing a Reiki healing, and I was guided to somebody's knee, and then I asked that person, like, has there been anything going on with your knee? And he said, yes. I've actually had an injury there, and I just re-injured it like right before the healing. So it's stuff like that, just like intuitive. I try to ask source to help, for that person's greatest and highest good.
Hmm. Are you familiar with traditional Chinese medicine techniques?
Not as much as I would like to be.
All right, so something that's coming up right away. I told you had two fetus in the womb blueprints.
Mhm.
So what would have been your twin brother would have gone down a path of being a traditional Chinese healer. That was what he was resolving. And this is one of the reasons you're being driven to want to learn healing. But there's a part of you that also wants to be a musician, a stage person on stage.
Mhm.
Like what kind of stage work?
Um, I something I actually have a bit of stage fright, but I've never actually explored that. I did when I was really, really young, like maybe like just when I was first getting into school, but I've never. I do sense that side of me though, that I should be doing something with music or some sort of performance.
So right now, the best thing to help you understand is no one blueprint is stronger than the other. They're both there for you to free will choose. If you decide to go into something like traditional Chinese medicine, you're going to discover you're a natural at it if you can maintain focus and follow through. Now, music is going to be one of those things that's going to be based off of chemistry and passion. Chemistry is the first teacher you have, and the passion is how much passion can you create in between lessons. How good will you be? That's also going to determine how much effort you're going to put in. Could I say go buy a guitar or a piano? You can do it off your computer and learn to read music off your computer if you choose. Okay? Guitar Hero doesn't work. I'm sorry. An actual instrument. Once you choose, understand something. The confusion you're going through is based off of how fast you are individually waking up. You should have been awoke 4 years ago, 5 years ago. What were you doing in 2014?
Mostly just working a dead end job that I was also going to a Tao temple, which I thought that was like my calling, but I feel like some of their beliefs are I've since stopped going. And
Mm-hmm. What was it that kept you on this journey? I think you have a lot to teach other people right now.
well, basically in 2012, I really had like a mental breakdown. And I was actually like institutionalized for a little bit. And it was very, very traumatic. I think I'm still healing from that. And that involved me actually going to another country, Bulgaria. which that's where I was born. And school for engineering. And ever since then, what kept me going was just like I felt like I have this mission to really, um, to really do so, to really help with this awakening. Um, I still haven't fully discovered what that, uh, in what terms that might be. I feel like I was almost going on the zealot side for a little bit, and since I listened to your teachings, I've tried to correct course.
All right, sorry about that. Um, you have a very interesting character right now. What I want to do is encourage you to go to some form of public speaking, be it Toastmasters, something that gets you over this stage fright. At a young age, you had a lot of, let's just say, challenging issues with the unseen world, and you shut it out around age 9 and age 10. And it's starting to waken back up now for you. So you were asking before about, hearing thoughts and stuff. You do collect people's thoughts, but you can't tell if it's somebody's thoughts or something that your own self is creating, or if it's just an echo from something you don't understand.
Yeah.
And this means you have to begin discernment training. And that means being in your body. And as I've been scanning you, you're here in this conversation and you're actually struggling to be in your body right now. And I could guesstimate, like, majority of the day, you're really only 35% of you is in there, and the rest is running on autopilot.
Yeah, that's been a really big issue for me, is staying, within. I always feel like I'm somewhere else in somebody's thoughts and some other form of wavelength.
You got to begin fortifying your reality. This is the beginning of the speech, the out loud name it to claim it system, which is you and only you. Okay? Prayer. What does that mean to you?
I do set intentions, and I can actually sense the power of an intention when I have cultivated my energy, and I set the intention. I'm constantly doing clearings every day. Clearing anything which is not a signature frequency match for union and communion, common moral code of do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
I'm
have
always
some crappy ass friends that are low frequency idiots that you just can't let go of either.
yeah, it's definitely there.
You're one of those people that should never be in a low frequency relationship, ever. You can't sell yourself to the low frequency world anymore, even if it is something you need in the moment. You got to up your value of yourself. So, about being in your body, this is going to come down to courage. That's why I asked before, what kept you awake? You've got to laser focus, zone into the courage, man. And you got to literally overwhelm this program that says you can be on autopilot. When do you have any idea of when this autopilot really took over?
I think really, well, from a very young age, maybe when I was in school, like I could never pay attention in school, and my parents were really wanted me to do well in school, and I did, but it cost me so much effort, and I had to get to the point where like I was spending way more time than other kids in school on the work, staying up all nights, and
Not getting the right kind of sleep because you were dreaming about what you were studying and worrying about it, and then the dream started going away.
yeah. I rarely remember my dreams, rarely, and if I do, they're usually nightmares.
How often are you having nightmares?
I had a couple, maybe in the last 2 months, or maybe last couple of weeks. Maybe I've had several, but usually I don't remember.
Okay. What are the nature of the nightmares?
Um, it really depends. A lot of it is about being inadequate. Um, Sometimes being inadequate with like women. Another time I had a nightmare where I was in a completely different reality where there's all these spiders and spider webs, and like all of them were poisonous spiders, and I was like with a group of people and like just trying to run away from being bitten by a poisonous spider.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
All those things are talking about stagnation in you right now because you're just recycling and recycling, recycling and recycling. I told you about courage. This is something you have to really deep down search for. And inside that depths of searching for courage is where you're going to find your passion. I'm going to be brutal here. You should have already been a PhD in healing, whether you're a doctor or a naturopath. You should have already done it. The only thing that's stopping you right now is the courage to find the next layer of passion in you because you have been suppressed. It isn't about getting a girlfriend or companion for you right now. You will never be able to maintain that person without passion. How is that person going to stay with you if you're passionless and 35% in the body?
do you think for me, do you think standardized, like you said, a PhD or something like an actual diploma or certificate would be important, or focus more on like the traditional Chinese medicine, just the healing arts?
Well, it all depends. Do you got 7 years to go into full TCM? You're going to be 36 when you get out, 35, something like that. Can you do a 4-year naturopath, 2-year naturopath? Yeah, you can, but you're still going to set yourself behind if you don't start educating yourself now. Reiki is great. It got you into the healing journey, and that will be a part of your healing journey going forward as you learn many modalities. I'm sure you've heard me talk about cranial-sacral therapy.
Yeah.
Okay, there are weekend classes that you can go and get certified for about $600 all over the world. Okay, myofascial, same thing. Start putting the money aside and start going to those as your passion, as your journey, so that when you're not in those classes, you're faced, do I want to practice this, or do I want to sit like a bump on a log and watch another video about the awakening? And that's all I do. You're not here to be a bump on a log, a couch potato. Passion, man, courage. Courage to make a choice and not be doubtful and hesitant of it. Those are your downfalls. Okay. Here's another one, a healing style called Watsu. And that's where they suspend you, they hold you in water at your neck and your tailbone. And when you're floating in the water, they move their hands slightly like this and they unravel your spinal column. It's cranial-sacral in the water, but a more advanced version of it. You would be very powerful in any form of aquatic-based healing. Okay. And you can go and learn that too. Okay.
What about inventions, inventing like a new like technology healing, or like a new form of healing or teaching? That's something I've always, been felt like is my calling.
Get 100 patients under your belt before you decide to do anything, even if they're volunteers. Right now, you don't have the passion to stay in the body and the courage to stay in the body more than 35%. How are you going to take a piece of technology from your mind to paper to 3D CAD drawing to the business and marketing to sell it without somebody stealing it from you? Do you have that experience? Do you have product management experience? Can you go to a trade show and sell an idea? Can you build your own website?
Yeah, I can probably build a website and the marketing, but yeah, I do need more. I feel like I just need more knowledge, like especially like human anatomy and
Cranial-sacral therapy is anatomy and physiology is the hardest part about it. The rest is easy. It's just learning the positions and the techniques and hand pressure. Okay? This goes for everyone out there. You can go, anyone can go and take cranial-sacral 1, 2, 3, myofascial 1, 2, 3, somatic release. Those classes are there and cheap. 10 years ago, it used to take you 2 years or 3 years to learn what you learn in one class. Right? It's not like that anymore. You can go out on a weekend and learn it and come back and be filled with that energy and then determine what you want to do with it. Okay? So here's a little recipe for assisting you in wellness. I think it's very important that you do some extended fasting. Like, have you ever fasted before?
a little bit. Yeah, yes, I've tried the vegetarian route.
No, I mean, fasting isn't not eating food and only drinking water for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, or 15 days.
Not for extended periods, like for a day or two, but usually not, maybe up to 3 days, but not longer than that.
Have you ever done any kind of extensive colon cleansing?
Yes, I did do a bunch of like I do an enema every week, and then I feel like I may have
Enemas
introduced
are
like
not enough.
another bacteria. I feel like that kind of messed me up more than.
Yeah, because enemas aren't enough for you. Right now, you have a pretty severe blockage in your intestinal tract. Not a blockage is going to cause damage. A blockage as in you have a lot of crap to still shit out. Okay?
Mhm.
When people go and do colonics, one colonic is equivalent to 30 morning poops. Think of that volume. 30 morning chunkers coming down in one colonic. You need at least 15 colonics to just clean out the excess stuff in you right now.
Mhm.
This is because you're not in the body and you have a highly acidic upper intestinal tract that isn't digesting the food right and making it go very, very slow through the lower intestinal tract. This is what creates what I call the slug energy in people, because you're not really processing your calories. I would say less of all the food you eat, you're really only absorbing like 65% of the calories, maybe 50% of the calories each time, because your body just can't digest it before you crap it out. That's why all that stuff is backed up so the body can go, I need this, I can store it here and store it there. You need to get down to the black water. You may need to fast for a period of time so that the internal mucus layer begins to break down. A 3-day fast followed by colonics, or a bunch of 3 or 4 colonics followed by some fasting and really heavy water fasting, so you can really flush out. You have a lot of heavy metals in you too, a lot. That's also what assists, does a big issue when it comes to getting people in that slug state.
I have a 12-inch metal stainless steel plate. Is that a contributor towards
Where's it
the?
at? Where's
It's
it
in
at?
my right arm. It was
No,
broken.
no. That's not it. It's from the food you've been eating and the water you've been drinking for your whole life. Okay?
And what exactly is the difference between a colonic and an enema?
So an enema is like 15 to 20 ounces of water, and a colonic's about 10 liters of water.
Oh,
It
okay.
fills you up and empties you out a lot more. An enema only goes just a little bit into it past the rectum, and it just liquefies the hard stuff that's right there, and you crap it out. Or you're doing a coffee enema, you're trying to hold it in so the caffeine gets to your system so your liver flushes. Liver flushes aren't enough for you right now. You need the full colonic, or you can do it at home. It's called a Kalima board. You can't afford it because each colonic's around $70 to $90, and 15 colonics can be quite a bit of money for you, versus $150 to going to CaliforniaKalimaboard.com and learning how to do it on your own. And you can get a 5-gallon bucket. Right? I can do a 5-gallon bucket in a home Kalima in about 45 minutes. I've learned how to master my own internal pressure to allow myself to fill up before I flush. and I can hold that stuff in so I can have a liver flush, a gallbladder flush, and a kidney flush at the same time, instead of spending it on all those products. But it does take a lot of effort and a lot of focus when you're in that position and you got the tube up there and your whole focus is to let the body's all toxicities go. You're slow and not in the body because you're toxic too, because it's hard to get back in the body right now for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then nutrition. What is your food consumption like?
Lately I've been eating a lot of chicken.
A lot of rice?
Not so much rice, but bread, lots of bread, yogurt.
Like over-the-counter yogurt, like Danyan yogurt.
Yeah, I try to go for the one with like less sugar that, you know, it says organic, but I mean, it says organic doesn't really mean much.
So here, first thing first, Dannon, Brinkley yogurt, that's all called dead yogurt. It's just hollow calories and sugar. It doesn't actually bring any probiotic difference to your body at all. Okay? Here's where the alchemist in you can go and find a yogurt culture from some grandma up the street, or go and buying it online and beginning to do it yourself so it actually does something to you. This is for everyone out there. Yogurt is old as days as they figured out how to milk the cows. Anyone can do it. It's not hard. It takes courage, a little bit of education, and some YouTube time. Okay? And then the actual starter. I really got to advise you to cut bread out right now for the next couple weeks. Just cut out bread. Replace it with something else other than bread. Okay? And then, as when it comes to nutrition, because you're so highly acidic in the upper intestinal tract, you're going to have to experiment with a variety of food changes as you're going through your colon cleansing, because you don't have the right microorganisms in there to break down all the different kinds of food you should be eating right now. Okay? Nutrition, colon cleansing, fasting, courage to be in the body. It isn't about the daily meditations for you anymore. Mm-hmm. I really think it's about finding the joy of prayer for you. The prayer to be in the prayer of, I'm in my body. Oh, thank body, in this moment of now, I use this moment better than a meditation to say, I am here to claim my space in my body now, and to make that an exercise of the self. So you can find your deep inner passion. You're one choice away from great success.
Well.
All right, brother, I got to let you go and move on to the next caller, but thank you for calling. You've been a good teacher for a lot of people.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right. All right, Robert, let's move on to our next caller. Robert is muted or having some Colombian dish brought to him that is probably steaming soup spilling all over his legs.
No, it's my mute button was not working. Okay, technical anyway. Kristen is up next, and she is now unmuted.
Kristen, are you there? Going once. Going twice. Kristen, are you there? 3 times. You gotta actually say it out loud, Kristen. You're unmuted. Mute. I can see you, Kristen. You can unmute. I believe in you.
It's a good thing we all stay on the same planet when that happens.
Exactly.
All right, let's go with Sunny. Sunny, darling. Sunny, you are now on.
Sunny, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you doing today, Sunny? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from San Diego, California.
San Diego. How did you find out about me?
A girlfriend turn me on to you.
Okay. So what did you want to talk about tonight?
Well, I have a huge basket. I've been on a returning back home to the heart journey, and I just was wondering, you know, everything you speak of is in alignment with the truth in which I believe and walk, and I just was wanting to know your take on my ancestral. I have different my galactic connection. I have different knowings of things and different beings of things, but I just wanted to expand because I'm in this place right now where I feel like it's time for me to step forward again and come forward and fulfill my service, fulfill my gifts and contracts that I have. And my path is path of freedom, but my one.
How many hours in the computer do you spend a day? Be brutal honest.
I had multiple head injuries, and I used to be a computer person, but I haven't been on the computer for like 25 years.
Okay.
I'll go in off and on the phone. I'll check things on the phone.
Okay. How often are you on the phone? Do you have an iPhone?
No, I just have a Samsung.
You should install one of those monitors that tells you how much actual time you're on the phone. What happened to your head injuries? What happened to you?
I was 27. I slipped on ice and went up in the air, and I dropped 6 feet, and I shattered 5 discs, and so I had a spinal injury, and then my head was smashed, and then I've been hit by cars 3 times on my bike. My native elders took me in and taught me soul retrieval. When I was dealing with a cancer, I worked with Hannah Kroger. She took me in as granddaughter. Recognized the Anakari ones that were working with her, were working with me. So I've been basically going through, trying to survive. But my elders said, live and die many lifetimes this lifetime. And anyways, it's just a huge, I'm just wanting to, I've been, putting Humpty Dumpty back together again for a lot of years. And now it's time for me to step forward again. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to do that in a place of.
So you have a lot of spiritual momentum behind you, but for some reason this spiritual momentum's not filling your sails. Are you familiar with the sail terminology? You put your sail to the wind direction?
Yes, I've failed actually, yes.
Okay, so for some reason your sails are not grabbing the wind.
Exactly.
So let me help you out with what's going on here.
That's right. I didn't know it was
When you
galactic.
when you had that head injury, something happened to your actual reality itself. You passed out and became part of another version of yourself because you actually died during that head injury, but they brought you back because you're supposed to be on this timeline, which is the 5th World of Peace timeline.
Yes, I could see that, yeah.
You are a peacemaker.
Yes, I know that, yeah.
That means you have to accept the responsibility to being equal to your level of awareness with the mantle of responsibility that you hold right now. You can carry no one else's pipes. You can carry no one else's medicine other than your own peacekeeping medicine now.
Yes, I know that.
Okay. How many other medicines are in your home right now that aren't yours, that you're holding for others to wait for them to pick up for their journey?
I don't know if that's something I have that I haven't I have not been able to learn to haven't been able to switch off in my field as a healer. I just walk in somewhere, and as a shaman, that my elders recognize me as a medicine person in my nation, and people would just come up and touch me, and I would just take on their stuff. I just take on their stuff. And it's like,
Stop.
I can't do that anymore.
You just have to stop.
Right. But how? It's an automatic thing. It's not a conscious thing.
No, it's not. It's a choice. You have just given it enough power that your choice is not enough to overwhelm it in the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I can't hide all the time. I can't stay in a cave because I don't want to. It's like I'm such an, I've really been working on this for 25 years, Andrew. I'm
trying to help you see something that's a very ancient pattern of martyrship in you.
I agree. I agree.
It is so ancient in you, it's created this situation where people are walking up and giving you their medicine through their energy because they want your ass to succeed, because you're supposed to be awake during the great Dreamtime Awakening. You're supposed to be an elder with a brick and mortar building that says open for business. What is it going to take for you to believe in that?
Oh, I believe it.
But to believe it enough to be changed?
Oh yeah, totally.
But you're not there. Why?
Well, because I've been trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again enough to where I'm physically enough to be able to do those things.
Are you Humpty Dumpty?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you sat on a log for your whole life and fell off?
Nope, didn't sit on a log, just fell down some stairs, was hit by cars 3 times on my bike, head was smashed, bit by, I've just had a lot of experiences, which I've learned to transmute within my body, which then I can share as gifts in my baskets for others, which I have. I've worked quite a bit with people, cranial-sacral, visceral, that whole basket, everything that put me back together again, I learned and studied. And then I worked with clients with. So it's like, I've not been sitting on a log, and I'm at this place where every time I push forward, everything falls apart. My whole body falls apart, and I can't.
Because there's still a lack of belief in you. That you can go to the next level, that you're not this broken person that fell down the steps and had all this stuff wrong to you, and I'll never be more than a cranial-sacral person with my clients.
Oh no, I'm not that. I'm a soul practitioner.
I know what you're saying, but there's still a part of you that won't allow you to the next level. The part that's still hurt. That my life got so fucked up from these accidents. Why me?
But it's not that. It's not that from that emotional aspect of it. I really feel as though it's a.
I know it's a soul piece, but the human you still has that as a program. And you cannot recover the rest of the soul shards until the human you dissolves that program. It is an actual blocking for those soul shards to come in. This isn't ego or arrogance for you. It's literally a program that during the injury thought my life was over, and it's got so empowered from the pain, it stays in the background like a leash. Just you can never go beyond that until you get to that actual program that came from the injuries compounded.
Okay, so I've done a lot of unwinding back to even to birth and to those programs, but that one where you're talking about there's been multiple times when I've died, multiple times, and they've
you've died 11 times this lifetime, and I don't meet many people who've died 11 times and come back. That means your ass needs to be in the awakening.
Right, quit being on the edge of life, and agreed. But that's what I'm wanting to do is make that jump, and I can't seem to make that jump.
So it's not a jump, it's a step. It's not a jump, it's a step by step, by step, by step, by step. And you stop and you look back and go, hey, I just had 100 steps.
Right.
Oh, it's a step. You are going into the very edge of the unknown for you. Your mind can't chart that next level.
Right.
But it should be able to.
It should be able to. You mean mocking up my new? Well, that's why I feel like it's the ending. I've gone through my master's class. I've got my master's, my PhD, and all that, and I'm graduating.
You have a triple PhD in spirit.
Yeah.
Okay, I get how spiritual you are. I'm not denying that. I'm saying you can be way farther ahead if you slow down enough to stop jumping and taking steps to that next future.
Okay.
Look at what I do. Okay. Do I take on all the traditional regalia? No. What has stopped you from having your own show? Knowing YouTube is free to broadcast. So is a station like this, Zoom.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do the Sunny Side Up show, how to look at life from a soul's evolution, as my elders taught me how to do soul retrieval and to look at things from a soul's evolution versus from a Jungian or Freudian evolution. But it's again, Yeah,
Courage.
it's doing it. Yeah.
It's courage. It is the rites of passage for you, the courage to go into the unknown and make it known.
But the thing is every time I think I know what I haven't,
You will never
like,
solve great mysteries plan.
it's just the tip of the iceberg. So then the floor drops out, and then what I know and what is like, that's just like a sand kernel. And so it's like, how can I get out there? And then when I have put myself out there to work with people, it's like, and this is what Hannah taught me to, you know, they ask you 3 times, and if you give them the information, you know, you assist them. And then if they ask again, you're no longer contractually held with that. But it's when I've worked with people, I feel it's easier for me to work with animals because it's just about the heart. For me, it's this lifetime. It's just about love, and it's just about love. And it's
now a spiritual program of self-defeat is actually coming out. Do you even hear it or see it?
Is that what it is?
Yeah. You just self-defeated yourself from being successful and a teacher in the 5th world of peace who can heal humans, animals, cats, dogs, horses, anything.
I know that, but why? I'm not going to blow my horn when everybody else. I mean, I'm just not good at blowing my own horn. And you're right. It is self-defeat, I guess. It is, I guess.
You got to, in this modern world, if you're not blowing your own horn, who's going to hear you?
Nobody is, but yeah.
If I had blown this horn for 1,680 hours of material, would you ever run across me? No.
No.
Okay. I've done 700 adventures into reality shows. That's my courage. That's my dedication. That's my commitment. It doesn't matter how many viewers there are, 1 to tens of thousands.
But your unique packaging of going into that galactic connection is a signature.
My emanation is the signature, and so is yours. I could be blah, 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 and I could still get an audience. It's my emanation, my frequency. I could be telling jokes on a stage. I can be a politician. I can be anything. I chose this because this is what I grew into. What did you grow into?
Oh, I'm just getting ready to come out.
No, you're already an adult. You're not the egg that's just hatched.
I know.
You're a pro. Everyone else out there in the chat rooms wishing they had your skill sets.
I have many gifts in my basket that I'm ready to bring forth. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, on the note of all that is that the one thing I shy away from, and the one thing I never was really, when you go to do ceremony, there's this part of me that is like, and I don't know, and I don't know where this comes from, and is that and as I did it's like I've been through this life review when you tell your story, it's like a life review, and it just shatters me. It's because no one, it's like I've never shared it to anybody except for spirit, the unincarnated ones. And so
have you ever done any medicine journeys with
yes.
actual medicine like peyote, mushrooms, ayahuasca?
My elders, I did a peyote ceremony back on the reservation with the Mesquite medicine man that I worked at, because I'm Potawatomi, Cherokee, and he took me back, and I did where you go into the church with the peyote, and then we would come and do drummings, and I went beyond the beyond, where you basically, it's like pulling anyways. Yes, I have. I've never done ayahuasca. I used to do mushrooms way too much before I awakened, and then my elder said, it's time. If you really want to have vision, then it's no longer using any substances. And so
as a recreational process.
Well, no, you're only supposed to ever use it in sacred, for sacred medicine is only supposed to be used in a sacred thing.
Right.
But
no more recreational usage. What I'm going to recommend.
The vibration, you can pick up the vibration without having to do the medicine. Yeah.
That's not always true.
Well, with the peyote drum, it is true. And with the peyote, they had me eat it raw because in my voice, when I sing, I have multiple voices.
I've done it raw. I've done it all different ways too. What I'm referring to, there are people that still have deep issues with the medicine itself, and they won't let themselves go into the visionary state. Okay,
Oh
that's
no,
why
I
they
wouldn't
in the
vision.
first.
That's not a problem.
I don't believe that. I'm looking at you and where you should be to where you are, what your vision could be to what you're allowing yourself you have. Okay, I'm gonna go push the session a little bit here. What I would like for you to do is to go out and hunt for psilocybin mushrooms or any other mushrooms that are out there and start growing your own. So you begin a grandfather, grandmother colony around where you live. So you can go and get the signature frequency teaching of multiple colonies so that when you feel the right energy from those colonies that say, pick me, you will pick them as medicine, as a legacy, as the medicine healer that you are. Knowing full well that one or two of those caps may call you at 3 o'clock in the morning to consume them because it is their time. Just as it was their time to be picked and you came, they're going to call to you. So you have a vision with the mycelial network, the mushroom people themselves, okay? As well as growing your own San Pedro cactus, 10 to 15 years to make it the right way. You need these signature frequency teachers around you. Even
I
if
do.
you're
I have the peyote around. I have peyote plants around me. I grow
you
peyote.
need mushrooms and you need a variety of others as your own cultivation journey. It's not about consumption, it's about the cultivation journey for you.
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Now, the next thing, you've done a lot of healing on yourself, and you've said you think you've come to an end. I think there's
No,
still something else inside you that is a spiritual trauma, okay? Separate of your car accidents, separate of the falling and stuff. And I think it goes back to right when you were having your puberty and you're having right around your first period. Do you remember that time?
Yeah, I can remember back to then. Yeah,
What was it like?
it was very traumatic because I had severe cramps. So it was very every cycle was very intense because I had severe cramps, and then I ended up having to go to the gynecologist. But
And this is what driven out masculine energy during your periods instead of feminine recalling of their energies going into the moon lodge.
Well, it wasn't until my spinal injury that I really went into the moon lodge and became my feminine. And before that, I was very masculine.
I still think you are a lot more masculine than feminine you are right now. The majority of this conversation, you've been in a masculine energy and probably don't even know it. And it's why you can't jump to the next level, because the divine woman doesn't jump. She walks gracefully.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not
Have you ever heard the term retiring the war paint, retiring the old paints?
maybe that's my teaching, what I was taught from soul retrieval, where you.
It's time for you to retire the masculine running energy into you. And I mean retire it, put it out to pasture.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
You can no longer fall to that. You've done it since you were 11 in your first period.
Yeah.
It's a habit pattern that is ultimately going to stop the clan mother from evolving into the grand dame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The next part is accepting that responsibility equal to your level of awareness now. That means you know you have this male issue going on. Well, over the next 3 or 4 full moons, it's not just putting on the love and light clothes and so on and so forth. It is the true deep inner work, getting back to those first 3 or 4 years of periods, or looking at your menstrual cycle for what it is, where it should have been divine recalling of all the experiences. You're putting out masculine energy into your frequency, which then permeates your reality for the next 30 days.
Well, I'm 56. I haven't had a cycle for like 6 years.
Sure, but you're still having an energetic cycle. Just because you don't know no eggs are coming down and you're not bleeding doesn't mean it's not going on. The grandmothers should have taught you that.
Yeah, no, I just was thought just share that with. I just didn't know if you were aware of that. But,
No, I'm talking about the when you were younger. Those are what are affecting you now. I'm looking at your Akashic record here. There was a time when you were 23, where at the beginning of August you had one hell of a period, and by September and October and November it was bad period after bad period after bad period. That created a lasting trauma in you, where the male energy, every time the period came out, every time these heavy periods came out, the male energy stayed into you for months and months and months, and it was very hard for your divine feminine to come forward.
well, the thing of it is I never really. It was just like 2 or 3 days, and it was just severe cramping. So it was. But the main thing is that it was my thought. You know, it was my. It was the fact that I became the masculine in the family. You know, I had to be. You know, I've always had to take care of my, you know, everything and take care of.
Right.
So,
Those
I mean,
are the traumas that you got to let go of, being the man from then, even during your period where you shouldn't be.
right.
That's the inner work for you. Allowing that little girl to be that little girl in those memories and stop taking away the perception of the masculinity.
Well, see, and that actually happened when I was 2, when I was molested, is when I quit being the little girl I was. And because if I wouldn't have been who I was, then I wouldn't have had what happened to me. I quit being a little girl. And
Right.
I worked on that out when I had my spinal injury. That's when I began to soul retrieve that. But I guess I still have aspects of that are still.
You have many aspects that aren't healed from the molestation. You don't really truly understand what it did to a little baby. Okay?
Yeah. I've been working with it. Yeah. No, okay. I'll take a look at it more and work with it more on different levels of it.
You're familiar with cranial-sacral unwinds?
Yes, I've had massive amounts of unraveling, clear back to birth, and
What I'd like for you to do is to talk with your practitioner about doing some kind of vaginal release. You're not going to be no inserting of energies, but they got to do the rock and glide method, or the holding over the top of the pubic bone and the back of the tailbone. And
I've had that and internal.
Okay, and then if you know somebody that does myofascial intravaginal work, obviously that's a level of trust, and that's a really experienced person, but
Yes.
you're going to have a vaginal unwind, which is going to be like an orgasm in reverse.
Correct. I've had that. I've had Jean-Pierre for visceral. He's the one who actually, and I've actually studied them. But yes, I have physical therapists that have done that for me when I've fallen down the stairs and smashed. Yeah, I've had. Yeah. So you're saying to have more of that done? Is that what you're saying?
It's not about more. It's you can do it once and get rid of it all, but there's still something that, I don't know how to describe it, that a part that won't come back until 95% of it's cleared up. Right now, you've really only cleared up about 70% of it. This is why you can't get into that jump mode. You have to walk slow, and it pisses you off, which creates
when it's unraveling and unwinding stuff, it's unwinding it from not just this timeline, because even my neurologists and all the therapists are just like, there's just so much here, and it's like they just are surprised it comes in from another. And I don't know if it's because there's shared realities that are coming into one reality, or
yes. You died 11 times.
I know. Yeah.
And got brought back. You obviously they put you on other timelines before they brought you back. Otherwise, you would have gone into full life review and never survived back in the body, and you're not a walk-in.
Yeah, I know.
Hey.
Yeah.
Accept that as a gift from the Blue Road.
Yeah. Can we go to my galactic reality instead of this one? But
I don't think galactic reality makes a difference right now. I could tell you all this stuff, but honestly, it's not going to make a difference.
It's not going to make a difference in shifting this stuff. Okay.
This is, you've done a lot of inner work. Don't get me wrong.
Physical, inner, spiritual, a lot on a lot of levels. And it's like, it's to me, I feel like I'm in this life. I feel like I'm in another death process. I've done a life review of everything, and I feel as though I'm going into this void of coming out. And so I'm Does that make sense to you? But that's why I'm feeling like I'm in another death process without having to die again this time.
I think you're arguing for your own limitations.
No, I feel like it's a completion of everything and coming out the other side in my full radiance. But I guess
I'm being brutal here. I think you're arguing for your own limitations, and I don't even think you have a deep understanding of how much you argue for your own limitations.
well,
There's such a part of you that thought you were damaged from all the accidents and the sexual abuse that you can go no farther. This is all you'll ever be this lifetime.
no, I don't agree with any of that.
I'm going to say, look, do the inner work on it. I'm looking at the energy being who's now where you should be. There are chains, there are hooks that are stopping you from going any further, that are related to the traumatic abuse, the trauma that you experienced, the actual bioelectrical frequency that are still charged in all over your body that are ancient and old and unreleased. Yes, they have past life issues to them, all compounded, but there's still a being who was injured this lifetime who still has severe issues with going forward. In the charge, in the polarity, in the program that's inside you. I would really like when this show comes back that you go back to listen and you turn on your medicine site and you listen to yourself.
Okay.
Okay? There's going to be some revelations from there for you. Okay?
I'm open to it. Yeah.
Okay? You're far too powerful to be limited this way.
I totally agree. That's why I keep trying to shed it. And my elders say I carry the wounds of all the nations, and I'm to bring oneness to all the nations. Well, I'm done carrying the wounds of all the nations.
And stop martyring for everyone else and do for yourself first.
Yeah.
Which is why you were abused in the first place.
Right. I chose this path on my path to awakening. You have no right to judge anyone's path to awakening, especially your own.
Mm-hmm. But you're judging your own.
No, I'm not judging it.
There you are. There you are. You still have to see what judgment is and isn't. Come to a conclusion, not a judgment. Fine line between conclusions and judgments. All right, darling, I've got to let you go. You're welcome. All right, Robert, we're going to go on our break right now. And when we come back, we're going to take some more callers.
Okie dokie. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Outstanding. So what did you want to talk about today?
Oh, Andrew, there's so much actually. But I maybe following along the lines of this last caller with partners. There's also some stuff. There's been some synchronicities with the calling in. I guess as to be expected with the cranial-sacral work. And I believe we've spoken previously about me doing craniosacral, and I just want to thank you immensely and say that it's been such an amazing experience, and some of the things that it has brought out and the glimpses working with the revocations has been truly incredible, with visions being back inside of the womb. And releasing a lot of tensions and getting the body going in a more grounded way.
So what would you say the biggest thing that the cranial sacral has done for you?
Oh, it's the biggest thing. There are two, can I do in two parts?
Sure.
So I've had repeated head trauma, And so it's been able for me to relax and have a more awareness of the tensions that were underlying in my body. I would class myself as someone who is reasonably aware, because I do a lot of qigong and internal martial arts. So I have an awareness of that, but this has gone even deeper, and it's been able to release not only on a myofascial level, but I think also on a spiritual level in this time, and given me more glimpses in terms of visions of being inside of my mother's womb, but also on my perceived deathbed. I wasn't expecting that, Andrew.
Did you have any teary breakdowns during the cranial-sacral somatic release?
No, not as yet. I had lots of sensations within my body, almost like a gentle vibration, and yeah, stuff like that, and hot and cold and.
Yeah. So that is the rearrangement of the fascia so that you can get clarity from the previous head injuries you had. So there's going to come a time in your cranial sacral practice you're going to have what's called a somatic release. Have you heard that term before?
I believe I have.
That's where you have a teary breakdown just from them touching one particular point.
Okay, yeah, that definitely.
What I'm sensing is there's a head trauma, but whenever there's head trauma, there's trauma that's all done to the tailbone too. We don't see those memories. We don't get access to those memories because a hierarchical system has divided us in spirit and in the flesh. That's why we have a left brain and a right brain. So one of today's teachings is about combining the left brain and the right brain. It's about understanding the cranial-sacral pulse, something that I have been talking about for quite some time. I really hope that people go out to the Upledger website, upledger.com, and check out what cranial-sacral is. In the little middle right-hand corner of the website, you'll see Find a Therapist Near You. The sacral pulse, that is when our brain is in full fluid flow through your spinal column, into your tailbone. And to the left or right of your tailbone are two little fluid sacs that pump. Constantly pumping what? Cranial fluid. That creates a cranial sacral pulse. In between the beats of your heart, that cranial pulse is using the beat of your heart and all the other motion that it creates so that there's constant pumping action between your brain and your tailbone. So that cranial fluid, which ultimately provides the electrochemical stimulus to create synaptic expression so that all the synaptic nerve endings are fed by said cranial fluid so that they have full energy with them. People that have back energies and cervical spine injuries, compressed tailbones, you have a limitation for an ability to cranial fluid flow. People that are in depression, regression, and obsession, people that are obsessive compulsives, you too also have a limitation with your cranial sacral pulse. Somewhere within the atlas and the axis of the back of your neck, or where your jawbone connects just under your ears, known as your mastoid. Cranial sacral can take care of a tremendous amount of what people call quirks. When your body is quirking like that, it's because something is mechanically malfunctioning. Many radio shows, people ask me, what is your galactic history? And the next question I say to them is, I'd rather deal with the medical stuff first for you to understand the galactic history. Why? You need to be clear and full in understanding of the position of the being that you're in. People come to the radio show, some in need of health work, some just need the spirit work. The cranial pulse, that's the first thing I look for when I'm reading a person. That first thing when I say, hey caller, where are you calling from? And they go, I'm Jane from Indiana. Well, Jane from Indiana, the very first thing I'm doing is looking at your crown chakra. And I'm looking at how it actually connects into your atlas and axis. And I'm reading the 7 color frequencies in each and every one of your vertebrae and your spinal column. That tells me absolutely everything about you in the now without any restrictions to your secrets or compartmentalizations to your secrets. That is how wide open of a human being everyone in this world is. Don't be afraid at all. It's medical diagnosis of, on a spiritual level, 101. Are you a 7-color frequency being or not? Joy is having 7 color frequencies in your life. You can create joy at any moment and the chemical stimulus that comes behind it. But it will be your programs that ultimately prevent you from stepping forward to create the chemical stimulus for the chemical stimulus to occur. The cranial-sacral pulse ultimately determines how much oomph you have at any moment. Okay? That determines what level of energy is going to come to you through a session on a radio show with both Kathy and myself. A masculine and a feminine, 2 polar different perspectives, yet speaking a very similar language and getting to the very similar points of view at the end teaching. And I cherish Kathy's as a co-host because each perspective that we present is a signature frequency teaching of the moment. There is nothing else like that. We're choosing to be signature frequency teacher of the moment teachers. And I would hope that people pick those words apart. For years, I have been a conjugation master, connecting word phrases that stop some of the most genius minds in their tracks. Why? Because we've reached a point where our 26-letter alphabet is a code for understanding the infinite. And that code for understanding the infinite is what people believe in. The cranial-sacral pulse is what you believe in yourself. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, everyone. We are going to be doing modern topics and modern history here in just a moment. I just flubbed my opening. Ha ha ha. Yes, even everyone makes mistakes. I was supposed to start with modern history, but I started with a speech instead. So we're going to take the next caller and we're going to be talking about modern history, or if people would like to put questions in the chat room about modern history questions, relating whatsoever, you guys kind of know, like I like to talk about a lot of things. I don't necessarily comment about other people's work, but today I might treat you with offhanded comments or bombastic statements if it's a really good question. All right, Robert, let's bring a caller on for modern history, modern questions. What's going on there?
Okay, Andrew, I got Kristen back and she's ready to go.
Kristen, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are. We're here to talk about modern history questions today. What would you like to talk about with modern history?
Modern history.
Mm-hmm. What's going on in the world?
Right, that's a big question. That's the opportunity is massive. I would like to understand more about So when we're talking like, you know, the way that America, the United States, acquired, say, some islands, and why was that necessary? What does that have to do with what kind of? I feel like there was an imbalance there.
Well, they acquired the Hawaiian Islands because the islands are full of energy, and they wanted to make sure that they had a source of unlimitless energy, as well as the variety of islands that are in the Gulf. It's why British and United Kingdom, so on, have gathered islands all over the world because they have special power on them. Especially when you learn how to grid the entire island with, let's say, plantations or homes that have their own prayer source inside them, or their own esoteric practitioners over on these 100-acre, 500, 1,000-acre plots, over hundreds of miles and many islands. You have hundreds and thousands of practitioners. Okay? When one takes the power of the island, they're able to put it into materials. And then those materials can be put into the boat. And that boat can be brought to anywhere in the world where another practitioner can unpack the energy inside them and use it for whatever energetic purposes they want. This is as ancient as days. And the United States just did it at an industrial level because they were gathering power, gathering power, gathering power. Why? Because they're the tip of the spear. They're the war side. They're the what takes all the collecting powers and puts them into one place and says, I'm going to go beat your ass and yours and yours and yours. And who's going to stop me? Russia? No. Putin? No. Xinhua? No. Maybe Q? Who knows?
Would that extend to peninsulas and gulfs and inlets and things as well? Like anywhere there would be incoming cargo, outgoing cargo?
Yes. Wherever there's ports of call, anything can go in and out. Now, what's the big difference between a peninsula and an island? An island's completely surrounded by water, and a peninsula isn't. So that means the very, very macro look at the sacred geometry of the whole land is going to make a different frequency journey. And you need to know where to go on the peninsula to harvest the energy, because you'll have multiple wave actions going from multiple different parts of it, which are creating vibratory frequencies throughout the entire peninsula. That is different than an island that is completely surrounded by water.
I like that.
Okay.
That's very informative. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm about to move to Florida. So I was thinking, you know, I always wanted to go to Hawaii, and that was, you know, just very much why all of that came out. Just, I need to know about islands and peninsulas.
I don't think island life is for you. I don't think you'd really be able to last long. 2 years tops.
I just wanted to visit. I've never been.
Yeah, you're gonna have this sense of falling in love, but I can tell you right now, you need to be around land that has deep stone underneath it, deep stone, not lots of topsoil. You are very much connected to the stone people this lifetime.
Yeah, stone medicine's my thing.
Mm-hmm. You ever cooked stone soup?
No, I haven't.
It's an old, ancient Native American tale about a grandmother and a daughter who survived a raid. Then the grandmother passed because there was no food, and all that left was a couple pebbles that kept the young daughter alive until the clan found her the next winter, the next summer. She spent an entire winter surviving off of stones and the nutrients she could get out of the stones.
That makes sense.
Okay. Something you should look into.
Yeah, thank you.
Next level of alchemy for yourself. Have you ever brewed your own alcohol or beer or anything like that?
I've concoctions. I like concoctions. I've definitely have with herbs and alcohol or brandy, vodka.
Right.
I like the herbals a lot.
Do you use cannabis?
I have in the past.
You don't use anything now?
Not now, no.
Is it legal where you're at?
No.
No. Well, I'm gonna push
stop
it.
me. I don't. It doesn't stop me. I don't like other people that much.
Have you ever heard of something called cannabinol?
Cannabinol, no.
That is where they make a very strong, stout or beer, sometimes it's lager, whatever it is, and it's infused with cannabis.
Okay.
That is the fermenting agent for it. Okay, and you can make cannabis cannabinol that's about 7 to 11% alcohol by volume beer that could have 400 to 500 milligrams of CBD and 500 to 700 milligrams of THC. Now, you're not brewing this to sell. You are brewing this to have it as a medicine that you can begin to learn to brew small batches of very potent stuff and then bottle it for 3 or 4 or 5 years, because it is a living, healing entity. Much like the other caller before that needed to have the mushrooms around, you need to find your own forms of living creations. Now, many people have plants and flowers and goldfish, and when you brew your own alcohol and do the proper prayers around it, set up a whole grid of energy, it is a living being that is there waiting for its time to be used. It might be a moment where a friend's come over and they've injured their back, or something's going on in you where you got a terrible headache, and there's been that medicine sitting there for a year. And the inspiration that was behind it and the prayers that went into it before, during, and after. Be very, very beneficial for you to look into brewing cannabinol. Plenty of recipes online for you to find out.
I hear you loud and clear.
And you can do it
I'm already interested.
You can do it for under $100.
I love it.
Okay?
Thank you.
As well as learning to brew a hard alcohol version of it, like a whiskey.
I like whiskey.
Yeah, me too. Whiskey and bourbon.
All right. Yeah, bourbon is delicious. Oh my gosh.
You can get some really nice aged bourbon kegs that you can brew it in too. Small distillery. You can do it out of a steamer, not a steamer, not a crock pot, pressure cooker.
Pressure cooker.
Yeah, there's plenty of YouTube videos how to convert a pressure cooker into a still for under $50.
That's right up my alley.
Okay, all you do-it-yourselfers out there.
I'm good.
All your do-it-yourselfers out there, you can do it too. Okay, you only need about a quarter ounce of green for one big batch of beer, and if you want to make it strong, put more in. Okay,
Oh,
be
that's
the alchemy.
Thank you.
Okay, have you ever? Hold on a second. Do you have any science background?
It depends. I'm self-taught. I love essential oils and plant life, so I get into, sesquiterpenes, monoterpenes. I also, of course, with the stone medicine, get into the constituents and the molecules that make it up. So that would be all self-taught on that level. I have had a fascination with quantum theory since I was in high school. So self-taught.
You're a genius, and I want you to know that.
Thank you.
No one's probably ever really told you you're a genius.
No, they haven't.
Yeah.
All I can do is laugh at that. That makes me feel joy.
I want you to wake up every day and remind yourself that I said you're a genius. And then after a while, it's not about me saying it, it's about you saying it to yourself.
Okay.
And it's time you used your inner genius to inspire people around you. That's what you're so good at.
Yeah, I agree with that.
When you get that I'm going to do something fun, people should be around you sharing that energy. I'm going to brew some cannabinol. Everyone come on over. We're going to test it when it's done.
Oh, genius.
Take off the shackles that are stopping you with your inner genius.
I was doing some inner release on, creative energies. I've always kind of stifled it a little bit to let other people shine, just turn it down a little bit, turn it down a little bit. I've always told myself, turn it down a little bit. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, that's gaslighting yourself.
Yeah. Well, you know, I learned from the best.
Said like a genius.
I'm very, you know, I've been doing a lot of work the last 3 years, really, really deep work, and, you know, just trying to really get to what matters. And, you know, I think I've only just recently, I'm 40 years old, I've only just recently discovered joy. I've always been a pretty serious person, but with a great sense of humor. I just, you know, never really experienced joy before. And now that I'm experiencing joy, my creativity wants to come out and participate. And I feel really good about that and good about encouraging that. And I've been very blessed with lots of wonderful visions and meditations and what I find to be very true within myself. And the universe has opened itself to me, and I'm, you know, grounding light, you know, just bringing it to where I can really, I'm glad that you said what you did, because I really wanted to know how I could best utilize my gifts. And you know, I've worked in shops before, and I really enjoyed, I worked in a mineral shop, and that was a lot of fun when the right person came through, just really inspiring people to kind of take on their own path and their own healing, and really getting to know themselves. And they would get really inspired, and I enjoyed that a great deal. So,
Well, maybe it's time that you opened your own shop.
yeah, I've seen that in my head a lot.
So let me ask you something. What do you do for money right now?
I am in the middle of packing all of my things and moving to Florida with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Our, you know, amidst all of this work, I feel I've created a deconstruction, so to say. My life is deconstructing so that I can build it back up. Now that I've, you know, cleared a lot of the gaslighting and a lot of other programs, and really bringing myself to some deep inner truth, it's time for me to rebuild. And that's what I see this as. I saw it coming from a distance. I didn't really know exactly everything that it entailed. But that's, you know, neither one of us are working right now. We're packing up. And
What did you do for work before?
My career was restaurant management, restaurant general manager.
Don't ever go back. Don't ever go back to that.
No, it was really bad for me. And it stifled, I managed to stifle myself a lot in that, you know, 20 years of doing that. And the second I stopped, things started to open up for me. A lot of anger came out, but things started to open up for me as well. And it just, I felt like it was killing my soul.
It was.
And I don't mean that lightly.
It was killing your soul. It was. Literally.
I was perpetuating programs. I mean, I see it very clearly now. I was everything that was dysfunctional about before led to that. And it taught me a lot. I'm grateful for it in a lot of ways. And I am very grateful to not do that. I don't ever want to do that again.
It's a strong teacher enough for you not to go back to it. You learned all your lessons.
Very much so. Thank you, done.
I want to talk about a future for you. Okay. Have you ever thought in going into like naturopath school?
Yeah, the first time it came across my path, I was 17 or 18. I was living in Oregon, and I wanted to go to the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine. That did not come to fruition.
So there are probably 5,000 alternate medical schools all throughout Florida.
Yes.
Okay. It's time for you to put enthusiastic effort about finding that path, be it naturopath, traditional Chinese medicine, whatever. I've
actually been looking in the cranial-sacral department.
Okay. Just like I had for the commercial break about for cranial for everyone. It's time
Yeah.
for you to just do it.
Yes.
Okay? Just do it.
I'm excited about it. I already kind of have my head set on it. And then potentially what I really wanted to do was to do that, get my training, open a shop with all of my favorite things, and also have a platform to speak and educate from as well. And parlaying all of that into just a kind of joyful life, doing all the things that I enjoy doing, and encouraging and educating and reaching others as well. That's my thought.
Okay. What does your husband do for a job?
He was a cook and chef. He has multiple physical issues and setbacks. He's had 2 hip replacements.
Mm.
He's got a neck injury right now that he's recovering from. Yeah, he's had lots and lots of diagnoses for lots of different things. And, we just get left in a whirlwind of not really sure exactly what it is, but we know it's going to take twice as long for it to heal. That's the one thing that seems.
How are you guys going to survive?
He has family that are going to help us.
All right, so let me help you out here. His issues are going to get a lot worse.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to put you in a situation to choose your passion or to be there for him. But also understand, if you're on the healing path, you can help him more with what you learn from one cranial class than you could with not taking anything and going back to the restaurant.
I feel that this has been my biggest fear, is feeling the pressure to go back into the restaurant industry out of survival mode. And in the past, I was working a tremendous amount of hours while he was here trying to help himself and trying to get better while he wasn't able to work. And I always felt a tremendous amount of guilt. I've cleared a lot of that, I feel, but it's still, I think the fear is still there that I won't be available to him in the way that he needs me, which is one of the reasons why I think moving to Florida will be good. His mother is there, his sister is there, his family is there, and they can help while I better, I won't feel like I have to choose. It's his mother nurtures him in a way that I will never be able to. They have a great relationship.
I understand, but
like
what I'm trying to say is he's going to get bad mentally, physically, and spiritually because he's going back to home and still in a defeated mode.
Okay.
Okay.
He hasn't come out of that, huh?
No.
I thought he was coming out of that.
They look like it, but the lead up to the move makes him have to be ready to get there and have to be in the energy to accept what mom is. And then a month or 2 months or 3 months into it, the depression is going to set in.
He's bipolar.
Well, there's more. There's more there. He's in too much chronic pain right now. What kind of pain meds is he using every day?
They have him on muscle relaxers and hydrocodone. And
He can't think straight.
And his whole entire situation is like it takes twice as much for him as it would a normal person.
That's because there's a severe depression in him blocking out the medicine.
Okay.
So I'm going to push the session. I'm going to say you need to take him to a very advanced naturopath.
Okay.
Very advanced naturopath or homeopath. He has reached a point where the injuries have stacked up on him. He's losing hope.
Yes.
And because he's on so much hydrocodone and muscle relaxers, he lapses realities, which creates a depression. And I would highly advise that he get some form of counseling. Okay? And then you need to find from the homeopath or the naturopath an alternative to the pain medicines. You got to get him off those pain medicines like 10 weeks ago.
he had said his intention with going down there, his first thing was to get off of everything. And I know that was probably a fleeting moment.
He's addicted. He has no idea how strong the hydrocodone has over him right now.
Yeah.
He has no clue. He has to go through withdrawals.
How does acupuncture sound? He was getting acupuncture here and he felt like it was helping. Would that be?
The acupuncture will do nothing for the withdrawals, and it will do nothing for the existing pain, because a lot of the pain he is denied for so long and had to work through for so long, he doesn't even feel it anymore. He's got to get back to feeling again.
Yeah.
Okay. Hypnotherapy is another thing.
Okay.
That's going to be very beneficial for him. You can go and learn hypnotherapy. Okay.
Okay.
These are some of the skill sets you can go and learn and practice on his ass. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. And don't go back to the restaurant. Go get an Uber job.
Right.
Okay.
You'll
make more money Ubering than you will in the restaurant, and work 1/3 the amount of time.
Hey, speaking of that, cannabis ale, would that be something that would be helpful for him?
Yes, it would be, but he still has to go through the detox. The whole reason I described that for you is because I knew his energy was there and someone was in chronic pain in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. With that much CBD in it, you get the right strain, like a Charlotte's Web strain that's high CBD. Guess what? His pain's going to go away. Alternatively, you can also suspend the THC into suppositories. Did you know that?
Never heard
You know
of
how
that.
to make suppositories out of beeswax? It's another do-it-yourselfer YouTube video, 10,000 videos out there.
I got beeswax.
Okay. It's real simple, low temperature beeswax. And you put the pellet of the THC in there, however you're extracting it. And go poof, goes up the other end. And pain goes away. It's instantly absorbed, bypasses the liver. His liver is way too stressed right now.
I bet.
Okay. Another thing you can do is you can take cannabis. Let's say you get like an ounce of some decent stuff and you put it into like coconut oil and you put it on the burner with a steamer underneath it. So it's not direct flame underneath it. So it's like a steam double cooker. Double boiler. And you put it right around 218 degrees for 1 hour with some cannabis that's ground up in a coffee maker, but not into powder. And you will decarboxylate all of it. You then let it cool. Do you have a bathtub?
Yes.
Okay, you fill the bathtub up with water as hot as you can get it. And then you add about 3 pounds of Epsom salt into it. It's a lot of Epsom salt, like 3 big bags. And then you add the oil on top of the Epsom salt. Guess what? The cannabis will always stay at the surface. So when the water cools down, you just empty the cold water out a little bit and add more hot water, and you let them soak in there for 3 hours, until it comes out like a prune. Now that's expensive. Can you do it with lesser amount? You don't need to throw the whole container of coconut oil in there. But he needs to start having pain relief in a different way. Okay. Rectal suppositories. Okay. Cannabinol. There are many other alternatives to cannabis for pain management. It's starting time to educate yourself. And then you have to ask him, is he ready to educate himself on new forms of pain management?
I just have to catch him at the right time. It's his memory is for crap right now, of course.
Because of the meds.
And I have to get him when he's in a receiving mode.
Sometimes then brew some really strong cannabinol.
There you go.
Take advantage of him.
I'm sure he would love it.
Okay.
He's a drinker. I have a question. I'm over here trying to take notes when I can listen to this later. I'm just distracting myself. So I sense a lot of energy around me very regularly. Mm-hmm. And I had a recall of dragon connection when I was much younger. And then I did a quantum healing hypnotherapy session where there was connection to a pyramid it was a blue planet, but it was like a desert. It was really bizarre. But it felt like home. And when I touched it, I reverberated physically for like 4 hours afterwards. And years later, it's now where I go to store my energy. It's where I go to meet what I call my council. It's where I go to receive instruction on what needs to happen next as far as my energy work and where I'm going. Sometimes it's to heal places and things. Sometimes it's for myself. But I'm just kind of wondering, what did I come in with? I feel like, during those hormonal years, things are always very interesting. But that's what always comes to mind is, dragon. And there's a connection.
Well, there's lots of connections there, lots and lots of connections. But one thing you must understand about dragons, they view sovereign free will drastically different than we do. And we have to expand our understandings of free will to truly be able to work with them. Okay? And this is why they are elusive, but very open at the same time. Because they're trying to determine, do you have the capacity to work with me? Do you have the inner genius that it requires to stay vigilant to yourself and not get lost into the way we think?
Not there yet.
But you can be.
I can be. I work on it daily, like 3 times a day. I take breaks and I sit down and go, okay.
Do you draw?
Not as much as I should. I used to.
Go and get some paint by numbers dragons.
Okay.
10 little keystrokes on Google. Paint by numbers. Dragon. Print.
Another thing I had in my meditations, actually after smoking some cannabis once, I laid down to close my eyes because I was feeling the need to do so. And I saw figures inside of a sun, and they were talking to me. And it felt so much like home and so much like family. Mm-hmm. And I have, and I feel like, I just naturally connect to that when I'm grounding and I'm, pulling it up. And then when I'm pulling it down, that's exactly where I'm connecting. Is there anything there? Is that just like some cool visual stuff I've got?
That's some cool visual stuff that you got that should tell you should be taking that skill to the next level.
Okay.
You ever heard of transcendental meditation?
Yes.
That's something to go and learn. Going to learn to go into deep trance and what it means, the courage and discipline and discernment to maintain deep trance, what you're still partially there or not there, depending on the nature of the trance that you want to go down to. You can learn hypnotherapy in a couple weekends. You can learn a variety of things in weekends. Just go do. Don't wait no more. Start showing off your genius. Start bringing people over and make alchemical creations and have a party with it. And test it out on your hubby.
I test everything out on him.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right, Robert, we're going to go for one more caller, and we'll see if this person has a good modern history, modern topic, deep state, whatever it is that you want to ask. We are open to calls.
Okay, I'll bring up Cassandra, who brought it up in the chat.
Cassandra, are you there?
I am. Hello.
Hi, where are you calling from today?
Sweden.
Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome to the show. How did you find out about me?
Hi, Sweden, like Stockholm, Sweden.
A lot of interference with your microphone. I can't hear what you're saying. Hello?
Is it better now?
No, it's still lots of beeping and hissing.
There we go. Let's. I had a question regarding beings that actually, you were talking about beings that left Earth but came back like to the end times. And I was wondering about who this soul family is. When did they come back? What is the kind of mission, or what were they supposed to do here?
What was the context? What was the context when I was talking about? What was I referring to?
You were talking about a soul group that actually managed to leave the game, and was actually left Earth and was able to like leave. Were the only ones who actually were able to leave here, so to speak.
They're called they're Answarians. They are a time traveling species that came from an ancient future after we've long awakened. And they discovered that there was a lot of time pollution in their early founding of their species, and they wanted to go clean it up. And then they discovered that their early species were being manipulated. So they sent them a group of themselves back to the ancient past and secured their presence here on Earth by time traveling to our ancient past and making sure their DNA was a part of our Great Awakening. That's what allowed them to get out, but being in at the same time. They split their species into 3 different groups. Those that were in the hollow earth, those that were in the ancient future, and those that were on the edge of void space or in void space, losing their I amness as part of their journey to understand what they were as a species that was time traveling, not just through one world, but through scores and scores of worlds.
Back. And what's the time in the history when they actually came back, so to speak?
About 37 million years ago is when they came back to the ancient history. But they have an entire population of people that stayed in the hollow earth all throughout that, through all the great destructions. They were a hidden species, and there are thousands of hidden species all over Earth. People, things that have just come here and dug into rock and have the right kind of technology to be hidden from reality, but they're a part of our hologram.
Well, that was like one of my questions. And the second one, if we do have time,
sure,
is about our skin suit. The last 2,000 years, what's the difference between our skin suits 2,000 years ago and now?
Oh, a massive difference. We can process light differently. We're actually larger in our emanation. 2,000 years ago, the average human size was just under 4 feet. Our average human size is right around 5'6" now. So we've gained a whole 18 inches in a potentiality of growth. That means our brains are bigger, as well as our capacity to resolve spiritual contracts. Our DNA skin suits are karmic resolution vehicles. We come in to create karmas as well as dharmas, positive energies that can help other people's karmas turn to something that isn't negative anymore. What else has changed fundamentally in the skin suit? Interbreeding. Where there's no skin suits, well, not none, there are far less lineages that only do one thing. All of them can do a lot of things now. Otherwise, we'd never be able to figure out how to use the internet. We all got someone in the family who still can't figure out how to use the internet. That's in their skin suit. That's in their anachronism. That's them. Because part of them doesn't have the capacity to work this fast with this amount of information coming through them, because they're there to more enjoy the experience of light frequencies. That's the main difference. Those souls that are in these DNA skin suits now versus a soul that was in DNA skin suit before there was television and radio and the internet. 2 different types of experiences. And that means the skin suit had to adapt over those last 2,000 years to be able to take all this information in and process it as an experience. That's the difference. We can encode more memories in light with this skin suit than we could 2,000 years ago. We didn't have the language, we didn't have the science, we didn't have all those other things in this hologram we all accept as the global narrative truth.
Frontal lobe on a lot of children nowadays is more active and more able, they are more able to use it.
They have more spiritual contracts with it in the global. It's not new to the global narrative. Like when America Online came out in the 1990s, everyone had to figure it out at the same time. Okay.
Okay. That was my questions. Thank you so much for
You're
your time.
welcome. Thank you so much. All right, let me see if I got any questions from the chat room here. A question for modern history. Is a clean state humanity rising and bettering itself in terms of natural evolution, or is it still saying repeat this best button? Earth is very much a part of our change, and to think that she's not even a part of the cabal is idiocracy. She is working with them too. Why? Because it's still about resolving the time travel karma here. A celestial being doesn't think in the light and dark variables that we're forced to choose in the global narrative. She's a part of the global narrative and improves what is in the global narrative because she can perceive forwards and backwards through ancient eras of history. So the change in our humanity is how we adapt our culture, how we come back to joy in our work. Okay? So many people go to work and they are just not happy, okay, for days and days and days at a time. We should be getting joy from the money that we're earning in this society. We don't, because it's cursed ass fiat money. Okay? We got to clean those stains up. Fake money, bad courts, disrespect of the sexes, not allowing people to have their free will, social activism that becomes zealotry, okay, giving the animals and the rest of reality its rights as conscious beings. Dolphins are aware, they know they feel, cats and dogs are aware, we should be giving them rights. Those are the things that we have to change within our culture. Okay, let me go see what else we got here for modern questions. I'd be interested to hear about celebrities. Do you speak about specific people? I know about ETs, what they're doing. Well, over the last 8 months, I've had a series of experiences where these are dreams, where I go to what I call the restaurant at the end of the universe. And in this dream, I open a door up, ding-a-dings on the bells, and there's a breakfast restaurant. You know, it's like closes at, 11 o'clock in the morning, doesn't serve lunch food. It just serves breakfast. And there's people everywhere, waitress, waiters, everything. And I find myself sitting at a table and there's a person that I know. And then there's all these other people that I kind of know. And this is where I've met a lot of famous actors and singers who have passed. And a lot of them, we just sit and have morning breakfast and talk of what goes on in our modern world and how they influence people through their material, their work. About 5-6 months ago, I had a very evolved breakfast dream scenario with John Lennon. And long story short, what I discovered from John Lennon and his spirit is he's been doing this a really long time. And he absolutely planned his death, knew that his death needed to come at that time to change the world for what it was and the impact that his death would make. But I also learned after his death, what he did, he became a muse to millions through his music. And I could understand through his way he was sharing with me how generations of people grew up on his music and who weren't infatuated with him as a fan that was living, but loving the music, allowing his universal love frequency to be there in the music to nurture them in their moment that they needed nurturing. And it taught me about my material and how it helps people in a different way. and it also prepares me for a much bigger scale. One of the things I was able to share back with him was working with the collectives, working collectives of collectives, all these soul families. And we wrote a breakfast song, you know, a British breakfast with sausage and potatoes. And it was just one of those guitar, spoken word breakfast songs. So yeah, it was quite interesting. But I don't speak a lot about celebrities other than what I've experienced for myself. All right, what's this one? How much whistleblowing is to be trusted, knowing it's delivered in a controlled medium via platforms? Understanding partial disclosure needs to bring about these mechanisms of truth. I actually think the disclosure community has a big awakening to go to themselves. Why? The platform of presentation itself has played itself out. There's nothing new coming out, and nothing new will come out because the global narrative is not creating anything new. Too many conspiracy theorists are regurgitating from 2012, from 2009, and because there's constantly people leaving the movement and new ones coming back, and old ones who've been away for a long time coming back, there's this perpetual vicious cycle of the same material over and over and over until it grinds people's soul away. It needs to be an evolution to it, where I'll also talk about David Wilcox. He got off of Gaia. That's the best thing. I never gave in to Gaia. I gave them the middle finger when they showed me their stupid ass contracts. I'd never work for them. Why? They're criminals in just the way they produce their contracts. And unfortunately, so many people that are presenters in our industry don't know what real media contracts look like. And they go, oh, look at this. And don't realize they own none of their IP. All their stuff is going to be produced and they're going to get nothing. And they were made to pay for the production too. That's why I produced my own studio, invested into my own self, knowing I own all myself. No one owns and can control my material. David's off of that. Corey's off of that. And a variety of others are going to flee Gaia, but the ones that are stuck, they're just going to continue to regurgitate the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, because there's constantly people leaving and coming back, flows here, and marketing will continue to keep that. What I'd like is to see David and Corey stop saying it's going to happen tomorrow and say, get off your ass and do something for yourself, and then keep presenting the whistleblowing stuff. How much whistleblowing is too much? I think a lot more could be said, but who wants to put their life on the line? That's the other thing wrong with the conspiracy theory industry or the self-help or all these industries that are combined into one. No one's going to put their ass on the line to get shot or suicided, okay? Like all the homeopaths that were disappearing, the doctors curing cancer, or Max Spears. That's what's wrong with the industry. Until we outthink that and evolve it beyond an industry and a niche market, beyond YouTube broadcasters and all of that stuff, people with true charisma, people with true passion, people with the true concept that we can change this world and the system will never see us because we're too fucking smart for them. We can use marketing to our advantage. We can use all these things to our advantage. And it's not about telling of the aliens this and this. It's waking them up to the greater reality that your reality is controlled. And then the rest of this stuff that's out there, they go and search on their own as self-illuminated masters, discovering what they can do. All right, what do we got here? So I'm going to answer the other part of that question, partial disclosure. We are already in 85% disclosure. What else? What do you want, 86? The final 15% is the bad stuff that they've been keeping for a long time. So partial disclosure is still no disclosure. It's not about the bad stuff that's going to piss people off to get into the streets. Whether it's the child trafficking, the drugs, the way the laws are set up, the fiat money, gold fixed, any one of those bad things that they've got covered up in their skeletons in the closet they don't want out. Okay? But even all that is out too. David Icke's been talking about that forever, so is everyone else. What's going to make the rest of the people believe it and stop stuck to the mainstream media? Mind control. That way we must educate people out of mind control. Outthink them. With that, I'm going to leave you all with a little bit of homework. The homework is, can you outthink the system? Can you evolve the very industry that is what we're in? The awakening community. It needs an evolution for there to be an awakening, because we're just stuck in the honeypot the system has created. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We shall be back next Saturday for another live show. Keep in tune. Have a great night, everyone.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Love you, love you, love you, love you.
That was fantastic. Each different model of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence. Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important? Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.